All right, let's bring in a gentleman who might be just as excited about Anaheim 1 as JT. That is our own statistician, Clinton Fowler, for Fowler's Facts. And we're going to use the facts for the positive here. We're going to draw trends as to why several guys could win this title. Let's use the old hashtag deep field thing and get excited. So give me some names and give me some numbers to prove why a variety of riders could win the title this year.
All righty, Weege. Let's start with Chase Sexton. Last year, 2023, wins the title. Not only did he win the title, he spotted everybody 35 points via those 7 mistakes. And we've talked a lot about those mistakes, but let's talk about the fact that he spotted those guys 35 points. And those 35 points were all through the first 11 rounds, and they weren't in the last 6 rounds. So JT, it feels like he should win one, but he's made that transition to KTM.
Yeah, I think the real question is, will he be the same Chase Sexton as far as top end speed goes in 2024 like he was in 2023? If that's the case, he's going to be very hard to deal with. And you did mention all those crashes. I specifically remember standing there in Oakland going, if he doesn't clean that up, if he can't find a way to stop throwing races away, it's going to be a very long year for him. And we know that it got a little better. He ended up being the champion. But I think those questions still remain. First being first, can he be that fast again, set all those fast qualifying times, be who we considered the fastest guy on the racetrack? And then 2, can he clean up that mistake that he was unable to clean up for most of the year?
Next rider on the list here, I'm going to go on a limb. You could probably find some data that proves Eli Tomac is really good at racing a motorcycle.
He's won a few races, maybe 51 Supercross races. Weege, obviously second all time in the series for wins. Incredible talent. I feel like he's coming back with nothing to lose. Weege, do you have him in winning? You got him winning next year?
Winning races, yes. Podiums, yes. I mean, title for anyone is hard to say yes. I consider him as good as anyone. Here's the point I keep saying. I don't think the injury is going to have any effect on Eli. So if you're getting the same Eli in 2023, you run that season in a simulator a bunch of times, he wins it a bunch of times. What makes it hard to understand when we talk about Sexton and the bike switch and Tomac and the return from injury is that there are other variables that makes any experiment uncontrolled, because we're dropping Jett Lawrence in. We didn't have that last year in Supercross. So what are you seeing with Lawrence? Numbers jumping off the page, Clinton.
I mean, this one has to be the most obvious of obvious, but 22-0 in a pro motocross season as a rookie is absolutely unprecedented. So I think that we've got to call out. I'd also just note he did that with incredible speed. So JT, you were talking about Chase Sexton having the raw speed last year. In the outdoors, Jett Lawrence was fastest in 17 of those 22 moto wins. So he's going to be bringing that pace this year as well. So it'd be interesting to see how those two face off against each other.
Yeah, I think for Jett, the A1 track sets up pretty nicely because I do think it's going to be very start dependent. And we saw how fantastic Jett is on the starts. Supercross was a little bit different. You look at the SMX playoffs, it wasn't quite as consistent, but in pro motocross, he had it dialed in. And I think you'll see that show up when we get to A1. And then the track itself, it's not that technical. It's going to be fast, a lot of straightaways, a lot of open corners. And I think that sets up nicely for Jett. He's not going to have to be so worried about bike setup. He's going to allow that to play into his strengths, which is raw speed, cornering ability. And if you couple that with a good start, I don't know. I could see Jett winning this. His agent has told me many, many times that Jett is at his best when the lights are their brightest. And there are no brighter lights than Anaheim 1.
Now, there is a title contender on paper. It should be obvious, but for some reason it's not. I don't think people are talking about this dude at all, and it's Cooper Webb. So give us the numbers to show why we probably should be.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that stands out for me is he was one of the 3 racers last year that held the red plate, and he held it for 2 rounds. That says something, including the fact that he is a 2-time champion and he's 10th all-time in wins with 21 Supercross main event wins. So the fact that we're not talking about him is a bit surprising considering the numbers that he's had in the past. And JT, I mean, yes, it's a switch, but it's a switch to a place that he was really happy to before.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very important for Cooper to just get through the opening rounds and log decent points. I don't expect him to come out and win A1. I think that would be the shock of the season if Cooper Webb found a way to win A1. I think the game plan and the way this, if it goes well for Cooper Webb in 2024, the way that it plays out is he hangs around, maybe grabs a podium. He's top 5 a lot throughout January and February. And once we move east, you see the meteoric rise of Cooper Webb. He starts grabbing a win. He's much more relevant in every single round. You start to see him build confidence. And then the last 5 rounds, it's game on.
Let's go to Ken Roczen now. I don't think a year ago at this time we considered him a title contender. Are things starting to trend that way? What do the numbers say?
I think we've got something here as it relates to bike setup and when he made the switch to active ride suspension at Oakland. Pre and post Oakland, he was 6th beforehand in an average. He averaged 4th after. That to me is an indication. And the most important thing may be the fact that the 11 rounds after he had 5 podiums, in the 6 rounds before he only had 1. So to me, that says that he made some bike setup changes, and those things he really meshed with.
Yeah, and Kenny, to me, is one of those guys where I don't know if he's going to be necessarily the champion, right? We know that it's tough for him to put together so many rounds weekend after weekend after weekend, all the surgeries he's had, the immunodeficiency difficulties he's had. But this is a guy that could come in and win A1, right? There are not a lot of people that have him on their radar for championship, but he is a guy that doesn't necessarily feel pressure in the way these other guys do. And that's why he's always performed so well at A1. I think Ken Roczen is a guy that when he feels pressure and everybody's nervous, he rides his best. So don't be shocked if you see that number 94 yellow Suzuki running around out front.
There's one other rider who people are probably not thinking of, but a year ago, he might have been at the very, very top of the list of title contenders. That's Jason Anderson. So what do you have for him, Clinton?
Yeah, tough year in 2023 for him. He crashed in 8 of 15 rounds that he lined up for, which cost him, from my tally, 41 points. And obviously you're not going to contend for a title when you've got crashes in 8 of 15, but he had the speed. He was constantly a 2nd or 3rd fastest qualifier, just behind Chase Sexton last year. It just didn't translate into the main events because of those mistakes. And so JT, I look at that and I think, man, if he can bring that speed again next year, he should win races and should contend for the title.
Yeah, Jason Anderson for me was the most disappointing rider of 2023. And that sounds harsh, but it's only harsh because I had such high expectations. If he had not put in that 2022 season, 2023 would have been normal. You know, it would have been some good, some bad, maybe not the season he was looking for, but 2022 really raised the bar. So I want to see him bounce back. And I think he wants to get back and show everybody that 2022 wasn't a fluke and he's going to be that same guy again in 2024.
And those are just a few. I mean, there are many other guys that could win races or even lead the points, right? That aren't on this group we talked about now, Clinton.
We didn't even hit on Hunter Lawrence, Malcolm Stewart. I mean, God, Christian Craig could be there, right? There's an incredible depth this year, guys.
Yep. And especially at the opener, we get used to being surprised. Don't be surprised if we're surprised again. Thanks, Clinton. We'll see you Saturday at Anaheim.
Yeah, great to chalk, guys.
Hi, folks. Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.